Hunt Palmer. Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Holding down the middle of the day. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer coming to you from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio downtown in the capital city on a Thursday. Casey Gaines and Taylor Sharp back there on the ones and twos. Hope your week's cruising right along. Knocking on the door of that weekend. We're here to help you for the next 2 hours. Talking a lot of sports, NFL playoffs, weekend creeping closer. We'll talk a little bit about that. Luke Johnson's going to join us in his 1:30 slot to recap the Saints season. Got some SEC basketball I want to get to. I have been talking about Kentucky basketball for the last couple of weeks and just how things aren't exactly peachy up there. Kyle Tucker covers them from the Athletic, and he had a mailbag that was on fire this morning. So it goes a lot deeper than, they're kind of losing some games. I'll talk about Kentucky's basketball situation coming up in hour number 2. Always finish things up with take it or leave it as well. You know, when you have this slot, you're right in the middle of the day. So you're usually not the first to react to things in the morning. OTB's generally got that covered. And you're usually not last. Maybe Jimmy Ott's Game Time 6 to 8, maybe Matt Show right behind me last to have his say. In this case today, I am last because the news of the day today is what the news of the day was yesterday, and it's that Walker Howard is moving on. By now, you've heard Matt talk about it. You've heard Jimmy talk about it. You've heard the guys in the morning talk about it. You've heard Hanny talk about it. And you've probably talked about it with all your friends. I don't plan to break any news here or give you an angle that you haven't heard based on some sort of inside source. But when a quarterback transfers out of town, it's worth a mention. So I'll give you my thoughts on this. I have read the message boards. I have read my Twitter. I have read my 10-person group text and talked to family members. And, you know, there's different reaction. But I see it one particular way. First things first. We've known Walker Howard a long time. His dad played quarterback here. He was a talented youth athlete in Lafayette. And by the time he gets to St. Thomas More, which is one of the higher profile schools in our state, you know who he is. And all of a sudden, they throw 5 stars next to his ranking, or next to his name on this site or that site. And all of a sudden, in a state that is just very, very rarely produces high-profile 5-star quarterbacks. We got running backs. We got DBs. We got receivers. Every once in a while, we throw an offensive lineman or a linebacker at them. But quarterback in this state has not been a position that has been exceptionally fertile. Well, now you got one, and his dad played here. Well, we got to get this guy. We got to get Walker Howard. And all of a sudden, you get him. And that's great. When a 5-star quarterback, specifically one who you've known about for 3 years of his high school career, whose dad played at the school, are automatically going to be considered the savior of the program. More so than a running back or a DB or a left tackle or a safety, you get a 5-star quarterback, that's the guy who's going to change the program. Doesn't matter if you're LSU, doesn't matter if you're Georgia, Ohio State, USC, Purdue, or Texas Tech. You get a 5-star quarterback, that guy, as far as the fan base goes, is the savior. And then you get a 5-star quarterback during a coaching change where things are a little dicey, that's the guy I can point to. Things suck right now, but there's a 5-star quarterback coming. And that's a natural thing for people to do. I tell you every year on signing day how important it is to sign 4- and 5-star players. I'm not diminishing your excitement level for that at all. But that's the label that's going to be painted on the 5-star quarterback. And then you've got this narrative as we understand the changing landscape of college football, transfer in, transfer out, starting quarterbacks leaving, backup quarterbacks leaving, transfers from Power 5 to Power 5, transfers winning national championships and Heisman trophies. It's a transfer position. But you lull yourself into this, well, Dad played here from Lafayette. He's not going anywhere. This kid's a tiger. He's not going anywhere. And that sounds really good. And I can promise you, if I was a 5-star quarterback and I signed at LSU, Hunt Palmer personally, by the way, I was a no-star quarterback. I was a no-star anything. I didn't play football. But hypothetically, if I was a 5-star quarterback, I would Matt Flynn at LSU. But the fact of the matter is that does not happen anymore. Your example immediately preceding Walker Howard is an even more high-profile example because there has never been anyone more bred for a specific role in their life than Bo Nix was bred to be a quarterback at Auburn University. His dad played there. He grew up there. He was a 5-star. He went there. He started as a freshman, and he left. Because 18, 19, 20-year-old kids, young adults, don't think the same way that a 55-year-old dyed-in-the-wool, one school my entire life fan thinks. So, you sit here and you look at the quarterback situation, and I was on record many, many times over the last 3 weeks saying, I believe Garrett Nussmeier will transfer, Jaden Daniels will be the starting quarterback, and Walker will be the backup, and he's going to be okay with that. Because we do know his dad, on the record, said, yeah, we're cool with the red shirt, and that's what they got. So at this point, he is in exactly the situation we anticipated when he signed. However, Jaden Daniels was not in the mix then. And that puts a wrench in things. So now you come to the offseason, 3 quarterbacks aren't sticking around. That's just not going to happen. The most sense would have made for Garrett Nussmeier to leave. And here's where I'll start to speculate. No sources, pure speculation. I believe Walker Howard and Garrett Nussmeier had a conversation. Walker said, hey, Garrett, what's your deal? He said, I'm going to stay. Walker said, all right. That means Jaden's going to start. That means that the 2 reps are going to go to Garrett Nussmeier. He'll probably play some. Ricky Collins coming in. He probably runs the scout team. What do I do during practice? That's another year. Oh, and Nussmeier's staying. So when Jaden Daniels leaves, there's a real possibility Garrett Nussmeier is the starting quarterback here for 2 more years. That's 4 years that I'm not the starter. That possibility becomes very real. And it's in most college athletes' best interest at this point to see if there's a chance I'm going to sit for 4 years at a position that doesn't rotate. This is not corner or running back where you kind of get your shot. Then this is not a great situation for me. That makes sense. So that's the situation that we're looking at. Here's my opinion on the matter. This is Hunt's opinion. If you told me entering next year, and basically at the quarterback position, it's a year-to-year thing. So I'll look at it 2 different prisms. One, for next football season. Said, Hunt, LSU can have 2 of the 4 quarterbacks that are going to be on the roster in the spring. You can have 2 of them from next year. The other 2 you can't have. Hunt Palmer would take Jaden Daniels and Garrett Nussmeier. Guy that won the West this year, threw for 3,000 yards, ran for another 900, captained the biggest win of the year. That guy, I'll take him. And the guy that I've seen play that's got a lot of talent, that needs to cut down on the aggressiveness a little bit, but may be able to open this thing wide open if ever given a chance. Walker Howard's got great high school film. Talent evaluators think he's very good. 2 LSU staffs evaluated him, thought he could be a starting quarterback at LSU. He may win the Heisman Trophy. I don't know. But if you ask me, if I could take 2 quarterbacks for next football season, I'm taking Jaden Daniels and Garrett Nussmeier. If you change the question and you said, okay, I know that you can't perfectly predict the next 3 years. But if I ask you the same question, you get 2 of these guys between Daniels, Nussmeier, Howard, and Collins. You get 2 of them to start this year and move forward, and you need to be thinking about 3 years. I'm taking Jaden Daniels and Garrett Nussmeier. In my head, that works out as Jaden Daniels is a starting quarterback next year. In games where things aren't necessarily clicking or he gets hurt because he runs a lot, I'm going to plug Nussmeier in. I feel pretty good about that. It's his 3rd year. He's played against Georgia. He's played against Purdue. He can go in there and run the offense as a backup or a guy that gives us a spark. And then I think as Daniels leaves, he becomes a starting quarterback potentially for 2 years. Now, that doesn't always happen. We know transfers. He could go pro, whatever. But that's my best scenario. That's my opinion. I'm going to take the 2 things I feel that I know the most about and that I feel good about. And I feel good about Jaden Daniels, and I feel good about Garrett Nussmeier. I felt good about Walker Howard. I don't know anything about Walker Howard. He came in the Southern game and handed off and threw a couple passes against Purdue. Now you're hearing a bunch of people jump in and say, Daniels cost us Walker Howard. Daniels coming back. If he'd have moved on, we'd have had Nuss and Howard. And your answer to the question is different than mine. To this point, nobody's right or wrong. I like my position a lot more than yours, but I'm not telling you who's right or wrong. I think that goes back. Those feelings go to two things. One, the five-star quarterback narrative that I just gave, where if there's a five-star quarterback who's never thrown a pass, he's labeled the savior. And that's the way I think you probably think about Walker Howard. And two, you were frustrated at times that Jaden Daniels did not throw the ball down the field and held on to it too long. Hopefully that changes. He's got a whole offseason to get to work on that. He's shown he has the ability to do it. And we'll see. To wrap here, my personal feelings about LSU's quarterback room without Walker Howard moving forward, I think they're in an awesome spot. I think Jaden Daniels is a damn good quarterback. I think Garrett Nussmeier is a damn good quarterback, and I really like his upside as a potential starter down the road. You bring in Ricky Collins, and you got a pretty good one coming in the class after that. I'm not going to talk about Colin Hurley today because that's way down the line. But my personal opinion on LSU's quarterback room, remember the discussions we had for 10 years about this? I think it's awesome. And if you're bummed out that Walker Howard's leaving, I get it. Personally, I thought there was going to be a little trivia anecdote, cool little stat that I could throw out there for years to come. Doesn't appear it's going to be the case. The first game I ever went to in Tiger Stadium, Jamie Howard was the quarterback. I got a 1-year-old at home who's never been. Theoretically, if he went to his first game when he was 3, maybe 4, maybe Walker Howard would have been the starting quarterback, and Jamie would have been my first game. Walker would have been his. That would have been a cool trivia anecdote for me to have. But that's not going to be the case. I think LSU's in really good shape. It just was not realistic for you to keep all of these guys around. It doesn't happen. And I think LSU's going to be just fine. It's jarring news. I think they're going to be just fine. I hope he goes to TCU. That way I don't have to deal with it. If he goes to Florida, I'm going to have to pull against him. I don't really want to do that, but that comes with the laundry, kid. So Mike Scarborough, who knows the family very, very well, was on Charlie's show. He said 98, 99% that he was going to end up at TCU. We'll see if that, in fact, is the case. But I think LSU is going to be just fine on the quarterback front moving forward. Lots to get to here on a Thursday edition. Hope your Thursday's off to a good start. Luke Johnson's going to be with us in about 15 minutes. When we come back, the odds are out for the Super Bowl, and I want to talk to you about where I think some smart money may be headed with some thoughts on maybe, hey, if you want to try to get a nice return on your investment, not necessarily the Chiefs, where might you go? That's next on the Hunt Palmer Show.
This is Hunt Palmer. Our listeners fire up their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Miller Lite has more taste and only 1 more calorie than Michelob Ultra.
Eli's always been into grilling. It took us a while to see it, but the signs were there.
What are you doing, Eli?
I knew grilling was my thing.
I have been talking about it throughout my career.
Happy with the results?
I am. Got the new grill from barbecueguys.com. It performed great.
My advice, as I always told my boys,
Do more of what you were born to do.
Barbecue Guys, for those who were born to grill.
You want cheese on your burger, Pops?
I'll take a little cheese.
You ever heard the tale of the misunderstood bull? A menacing beast who was born to float. A force of nature. The embodiment of grace. Quite grand, yet quiet and nimble. The Infinity QX80.
Experience the Infinity QX80 at your local Infinity retailer.
At Ochsner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Ochsner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one. You. Ochsner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
Louisiana. It's a place defined by culture, by pride, by passion, by people who do more than love this place. They celebrate it, elevate it, champion it. They are the individuals who embody what makes Louisiana great. The companies that make Louisiana a better place to work and live. The nonprofits leading transformational change in our communities. Champions of Louisiana are all around us, and LWCC is proud to celebrate them because we've always been Louisiana loyal, supporting the workers, the innovators, the change agents of this great place we call home. Who are the champions around you? Together, we can share their stories. Together, we can help our home state thrive. Together, we are Louisiana loyal. Always.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies.
NFL Wild Card Weekend. Tune in Saturday when the 49ers host the Seahawks at 3:30 p.m., immediately followed by the Jaguars and Chargers at 7:15. Then on Sunday, the Bills host the Dolphins at noon, the Vikings host the Giants at 3:30, and the Bengals host the Ravens at 7:15. Right here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Saints have a lot of work to do in the offseason, a lot of decisions to be made. Defensive front, Michael Thomas, I think that decision's already been made. Quarterback, some things to kick around with Luke Johnson coming up here in about 12 minutes at 1:30. NFL playoffs crank up this weekend, wild card round. I've got all the odds to win the Super Bowl from FanDuel. Of course, Kansas City is the top choice at plus 330. Buffalo comes in right there after at plus 400. You can get Philadelphia and San Francisco out of the NFC at plus 500. Cincinnati at plus 750. Dallas plus 1,300. The Chargers at plus 2,100. Tom Brady and the Bucks plus 2,800. $2,800 on a $100 bet for Tampa. Miami plus 3,000. Baltimore plus 5,000. They're right there with Jacksonville at plus 5,000. The Giants plus 550. Seattle plus 850. And you can get the Miami Dolphins. Oh, no, that was Minnesota at plus 3,000. Miami, that's my incredible handwriting. Can't tell the difference between Minnesota and Miami. Minnesota's plus 3,000. Miami, with their disaster at QB, is at plus 10,000. So, if I had to throw $100 down and I was hoping to catch the best return I could on my investment, I'm certainly not going to take Miami. I'm not taking the Giants. Those are huge returns at this point. I'll tell you two that I really like. Well, 3. The first one's obvious. I like Cincinnati at plus 750. You get more on your return with Cincinnati than you do Kansas City or Buffalo or Philly or San Francisco. They're in the 5th slot. The Bengals are playing great football. Joe's awesome. I really like Cincinnati at plus 750, but I think people around here, that sounds pretty obvious. Moving forward, there are 2 that I really like that are a little bit more of long shot picks that very few people will pick to make it through. The first, Taylor Sharp, is the Dallas Cowboys. He shakes his head violently at that. Now, let me make my case here. We talked about the quarterbacks in the NFC yesterday, but Dallas did win 12 games this year. And only the Eagles scored more than Dallas in the NFL. The offense has some playmakers. Dak has scored some points. I know he's turned it over, but he scored some points, and they've got what early in the year was a ridiculous pass rush. It tailed off a little bit late, but it's gotten a little better the last 2 weeks. You get after Brady with that pass rush when he can't move. Are you scared of Seattle if they get through Brock Purdy, if that's the guy you face? I know their defense is incredible over in San Francisco. I know you'd have to go on the road there, but it's Brock Purdy. You couldn't force him into a turnover or 2. Kirk Cousins terrifying you at this point. And again, I get Philly, but Hurts has been out a little bit. I'm not saying they're my pick to win the Super Bowl. I'm saying for plus 1,300, I don't think it's the worst idea in the world.
No, I know I'm shaking my head. I actually agree with you. If they can get past Tampa, I mean, Brady's the best QB in the NFC playoffs, I think, far and away. If they can get past them, yeah, I mean, are you scared of Brock Purdy? Are you scared of Jalen Hurts? I'm not. I know a lot of people are, but look, Philly beat Dallas by 9. Dallas had Cooper Rush knock Dak Prescott. The Cowboys beat Philly by 7 without Jalen Hurts. I mean, those 2 teams are neck and neck. You get past them, I mean, yeah, the NFC's wide open. So
then you go play one game.
Yeah, as down as I am on the Cowboys right now, I'm not super confident on anybody on that side. So, yeah, I'm kind of with you.
I like Philadelphia and San Francisco more than I like Dallas, but I don't get the return that I get double the return on Dallas that I would on those 2. So I like the Cowboys as a long shot play. And there's one that I really, really like. It would not be a $100 play for me, but like a $10 play, I could get on board with it, and it's Baltimore at plus 5,000. I don't think Lamar Jackson's going to play on Sunday night, so that really hurts your cause, and they'll probably lose to Cincinnati. But if some way, shape, or form they could get through that and they could get Lamar back, you're catching plus 5,000 on this. You win $500 on a $10 bet. This Baltimore team with Lamar was 7-4 when he got hurt. They had won 4 of 5 when he got hurt, and their losses to that point were by 4 to Miami, by 3 to Tampa, by 4 at the Giants, and by 1 at Jacksonville. They had beaten the Bengals. They had beaten and so they lost by Buffalo. They had beaten the Buccaneers and the Bengals with Lamar. They lost to Buffalo by 3 points with Lamar. The Ravens' issue right now is not defense. Their defense over the last 6 games since Lamar got hurt is giving up 14.6 points per game. They're giving up 2 touchdowns a game. They can't score. They have not busted 17 without Lamar Jackson. And the fact is that they probably will not. If Lamar doesn't play, and it sounds like the backups are really in a bad way too, then, yeah, I get it. You're in a big trouble on Sunday night against Cincinnati in Cincinnati. However, that's worth a flyer bet because they've got a really good defense and an MVP quarterback that hasn't played. And when he was playing, they were competitive with the best teams in the league. Again, lost by 3 to Buffalo, lost by 1 to Jacksonville, beat the Bengals, beat the Bucs. They're playing some of the better teams, some of the playoff teams, and playing them pretty well. So I watched a report today from Ravens practice. He did not practice yesterday. It doesn't sound good. It doesn't sound good for Teddy Bridgewater either on the Miami side of things. Apparently, he can't throw the ball more than 15 yards. So Skylar Thompson from Miami, not looking great. And then whatever, Hundley, whoever they want to put out there for Baltimore, does not look good against the Bengals. But if you're talking about some long shot bets, I would go with Cincinnati, Dallas, and Baltimore. Now, speaking of Cincinnati in a home game, Joe kind of broke my heart a little bit yesterday, folks. I don't know if you heard this. It was in a press conference. And, Joe always says the right thing. And there's going to be a crowd in Cincinnati at Paycor Stadium that is going to be behind him, theoretically, for the remainder of his career. Maybe he goes somewhere else. Maybe he doesn't. But theoretically, he may play there forever. And he said that he was excited to play in the playoff game in Paycor Stadium on Saturday night because the crowd for the Monday night game that DeMar Hamlin got hurt in was the best pregame crowd he'd ever been in. And the Cincinnati media said, like in college or pro, like he goes, that I've ever been in. And it made me very sad. Because I always think, like, of course Joe knows the Tiger Stadium is way better than Paycor Stadium. Saturday night in Death Valley beats the brakes off whatever in Cincinnati. But Joe doesn't have to cater to us anymore as much. A little bit, but not as much as he does to the Cincinnati fans. So I get it. But hey, crowd before A&M senior night where he put the Burrow jersey on, like that was pretty good. Even though he was hurt and LSU didn't have a great team, I'm assuming that Bama crowd in 2018, before we got shut out, was probably pretty good. But it just bummed me out to hear our guy, Joe B., who in my head just bleeds purple and gold through and through, even though we know he went to Ohio State and he's a Cincinnati Bengal and he loves LSU. But he's got other people to cater to now. I saw the press conference, and when I saw him say, best crowd I've ever seen, my eyes got big and my ears perked up, and I said, is he going to clarify that with just saying in the pros? He didn't. He said it was the best he'd ever seen. Makes me very sad, but that's okay. One day Joe's going to come back, bye week or whatever it may be, and we'll see him again, and he'll love it. And I'm pulling for the Bengals. I'm pulling for my guy Joe, but I just think of the pregame atmosphere and the atmosphere inside Tiger Stadium as being untouchable, certainly by anybody in the NFL, specifically an organization that's had no success in the NFL. But turns out Joe means what he says, I guess, and that he thought it was really good on Monday. No more slander of Joe Burrow. We'll be back on the Joe Burrow train tomorrow talking about the NFL playoffs and my picks for the weekend, which you're very much free to fade. They're money makers if you just fade them. I talked SEC basketball yesterday, which I'll do in the next at the top of the next hour. Talk about how my bets went yesterday, which would not have gone super well for you if that was your financial investment strategy. But we'll get with Luke Johnson here coming up briefly. I want to talk with Luke about a lot of different things with the black and gold as they move into the offseason. So just text with him. He's ready to rock. So we'll go to Luke Johnson and then have some basketball talk in the second hour. Come back with us on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
One Bath and Closets. OneBathAndClosets.com is the website. David Duvall and his team, 30 years in the business. How much better would your living situation be if you got a brand new bathroom? From the flooring to the plumbing to the shower, all that's available to you at One Bath and Closets. If you want to do a full-scale renovation, David Duvall and his team can do it. And you just got to make one call. One contractor, one call, One Bath and Closets. David Duvall and his crowd will do the whole deal. If you just want to do a tub-to-shower conversion, you can do that as well. Take that tub out, put in a brilliant walk-in shower with a glass front. There's pictures of it right there on the website, onebathandclosets.com. Or if you need new closet space, you don't have enough, it's cluttered, it's not organized, let David Duvall and his team come in and customize a closet for you. You tell them the Hunt Palmer Show sent you. They're not going to charge you for the rip-out of your old closet. They're not going to charge you for the labor costs of installing the new unit. They're just going to charge you for the new unit. Go to onebathandclosets.com. I promise you this with David Duvall and his team. You're not going to have them come in, finish the job, and come back 2 weeks later because they cut a corner trying to get to the next job. No. They'll do it right the first time and leave the competition behind. One Bath and Closets, onebathandclosets.com.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Bayou Ford has $10,000 off MSRP on a new 2022 Ford F-150, plus no payments for 90 days and 2.9% APR for 72 months. All new Bayou vehicles come with a 1 million mile powertrain warranty. If you need sales or service, the crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
Time doesn't stop, and the world keeps spinning. Community, culture, and communications, the powerful circle that connects us together. We're creating the next evolution, a network built for every possibility, moving faster than ever before, streaming us forward into the future. And the revolution is closer than you think. RTC, ETEL, and Vision are now Rev. New name, same company.
This is a house call. This is a follow-up appointment. This is a diabetes checkup. This isn't just more convenient care, it's more advanced care. This is innovating healthcare at Louisiana's #1 hospital, Ochsner.
All right, let's say ah.
Where'd my spotlight go?
Super weird, but we can take care of it.
Get in and get better at Patient Plus.
I've got that blue sky. I've got that sunshine.
Service Master Elite create clean, disinfected work environments. As a local business, we take pride in serving the New Orleans and Baton Rouge areas. Our cleaning protocols follow CDC and OSHA standards for healthcare settings, offices, senior living, restaurants, and industrial plants. Contact Service Master Elite to get your operation ready for reopening with germ disinfection cleaning. Service Master Elite, the trusted choice in professional cleaning since 1996.
Eli's always been into grilling. It took us a while to see it, but the signs were there.
What are you doing, Eli? I knew grilling was my thing. I have been talking about it throughout my career.
Happy with the results?
I am. Got the new grill from barbecueguys.com. It performed great.
My advice, as I always told my boys,
do more of what you're born to do.
Barbecue.
Matt Moscona inviting you to join us for Thursday's AFR. More fallout from the news that Walker Howard transferring out of LSU. What does it mean for the Tigers as they move forward into 2023 and beyond? Join us, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Moving right along here on a Thursday. Head out to the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Luke Johnson covers the Saints for The Advocate with us every week. Luke, how are you, sir?
Doing great, man. How are you?
Doing good. Not so good on the offensive side for the Saints in the season finale. Kind of a microcosm of how things went late in the season. The defense played pretty well. Offense couldn't pick them up. Kind of a fitting in to a very, very poor season.
Yeah. Look, you look at the last 9 games of the season when the defense was giving up about 15 points per game, which is like elite level scoring defense, right? They went 4-5 in those games while their offense averaged 12.7 points per game.
Yep.
I mean, it's not going to cut it. It's no good. They've got to make some pretty substantial changes on that side of the ball. Whether it's quarterback, whether it's new OC, whether it's both of those things. They cannot go through another season like that because it's impossible to win in the NFL just because you have a good defense. Like I think the Saints just proved that. They could have made a legitimate run toward the playoffs in that stretch, and their offense just held them back. So, got to make some changes. I think it's obvious to everybody, and it should be obvious to the Saints too.
Yeah, this is an organization that prides itself on not making changes. We've got a great thing in place. We're going to keep things together. That was the whole root of this hire and the offensive coordinator hire. How willing do you think they will be to make some of those changes?
I think they got to be, right? I think it made sense this offseason when they just stuck with continuity and they're like, look, this has worked. These guys know this. These players all know this system. These coaches all know these players. Let's see if we can keep it going without the genius behind it all and Sean Payton. I think it was pretty clear that it isn't going to work, right? I mean, I don't think there's anything else you can really say about it. So regardless of whether they like the continuity or not, and they're an organization that's been kind of resistant to change. The fact of the matter is, the league kind of passed them by this past year, and this is not the type of business where you can just kind of stick with the status quo when it's not working.
It's fun to play the quarterback roulette wheel and talk about Jimmy Garoppolo and Derek Carr and Lamar Jackson and Aaron Rodgers and draft picks from Sean Payton and whatnot. But what do you think is realistic?
Well, it's a really good question. Because I think frankly everything is on the table, right? Even when you consider this team's cap constraints that they're constantly under, they were going to move around enough salary to fit Deshaun Watson into it last year at like $45 million a year, you know? So like they can figure something out if no matter what is on the table, even if it's Lamar Jackson, you're having to pay him $50 million a year. Like they'll figure out a way to make that work. Now, what's going to be available to him? I think that's really the toughest part to kind of parse through here because we don't know what kind of compensation they're going to get back for Sean Payton. You know, I mean, I think there's a scenario in which he is so highly sought after and there's so much competition for his services that maybe you can get like a really, really good first round draft pick, right? And maybe you can put yourself in the running for one of these top quarterbacks in this draft. I think that's far fetched, but I don't think it's like completely out of the running here. And then, you know, if that doesn't happen, you know, I think there's a possibility that they could kick the tires on Derek Carr. You know, the Raiders are obviously motivated to get something back in return for him. They got to make a move pretty quickly because his contract becomes guaranteed on February 15th. So any team who trades for him, though, is going to have to eat that contract. And I don't know if the Saints are willing to say, like, yeah, we're going to commit $40 million guaranteed to Derek Carr. Is he the answer to your problems? I don't know. But if no other teams are really willing to take that contract on, and if the Raiders are like, we're going to release him anyways by this date, like maybe you could get him for a pretty low draft pick, all things considered, for a guy who started 9 years in the NFL and played at a high level before. So I mean, there's just so many different ways this can go, and a lot of things are realistic until they're not. You know.
So as far as Sean Payton goes, I laughed when I saw the Texans floated yesterday because I just feel like that's such a disastrous organization over there. However, I saw some of your colleagues in the New Orleans market say that make a lot of sense, and they've got obviously a very, very high draft pick. We know that the Cardinals are open now as well. Either of those make sense to you as a landing spot? Just as Sean Payton's concerned, totally irrelevant with what the Saints think.
So, like, if you would have asked me this 2 weeks ago, I would have been like, no way. You know, they don't fit any of his really, like, his criteria, right? Like a stable organization with, functioning leadership at the top and, all that stuff. But like the more this thing drags on, and it's not really dragging on, I think it's moving pretty quickly, but like the more this thing kind of unfolds, I think you're able to kind of talk yourself into some of this. If he goes to Arizona, like they don't have a GM in place, like maybe part of the negotiations with them is he gets to, handpick who he gets to work with in the front office. If he goes to Houston, I mean, we've seen it with that organization before where they just, they give their head coach like carte blanche power.
Yeah.
Which, I think that probably, like if Sean Payton gets to have his fingerprints on everything that he has in the organization, I mean, that's what he had with the Saints, right? So you can talk yourself into a lot of this stuff. But, I think we're all trying to read the tea leaves and see what's really important to Sean Payton. And I don't really know what that is. But look, if either of these places are places that he'd really legitimately consider, I mean, that's good for the Saints. Like, it's good to have as many people as possible, like, thinking they have a real shot at it and driving the price up. Like, that was the whole thing this offseason, is they need a lot of people to be interested, and they need to have like a bidding war for his services. Because if it's really just one team that he wants to go to, like, if the Chargers get just smoked by the Jaguars this weekend in the postseason, I think that's who they're playing.
Yeah.
And they fire Brandon Staley. Maybe Sean Payton only wants to go to the Chargers and only wants to coach like a Decepticon at quarterback for the next 10 years. And maybe that kind of diminishes the Saints' bargaining power there. So, I think this is just a really fluid thing, but I think we have to take all these seriously as potential landing spots for him.
It's very interesting. Luke Johnson of the Advocate is our guest. Talk about a couple players and their futures with the Saints. Michael Thomas is first. I think we kind of see the writing on the wall there.
Yeah, I think so. Before they renegotiated his contract, I thought it would have been very unreasonable to expect him to move on from him, because it's like you're going to be paying him $25 million a year next year anyways. Like, what's the point of moving on from him, especially if because there is a very real possibility that he comes back and he's the same player that we all know he can be. But that restructure obviously changes things. It would free up $14 million cap space. If they do decide to bring him back, they're guaranteeing a lot of money to him next year, and that's a pretty risky venture on their part. So I think it makes it look now more like he's going to be playing elsewhere next season.
Marcus Davenport.
I think they're going to let him test the market. I think it'd be kind of foolish of them to be the team that offers him a contract, or if they do, they'd have to offer him a very, a short incentive-laden deal to let him try to play himself into a better free agent deal next year. But I would expect he's not somebody that we're going to be hearing about, on March 12th or whatever. I think they're going to let him see what he can get out there, and if there's nothing out there, then maybe they can bring him back at a pretty steep discount from what we were all kind of expecting going into the season.
It would need to be a significant discount, in my opinion. That was not a very productive season for Marcus, and that ejection just kind of felt poetic as he was walking out. Like, man, that may be the end. On the complete opposite side of that, Cam Jordan.
That's a really interesting one. Look, I think he was probably their best defensive lineman this year. He's been consistently productive. He is a guy who you want to have in your organization, right? But he's going to be, I think, 34 next year. He's going to cost a lot of money. I think there's a legitimate possibility that he's played his last down with the Saints, because I don't think he's the kind of player who's going to be like, yeah, I'm going to come back and make a lot less money. It's just not who he is, especially considering he's still playing at a fairly high level. So I'm kind of 50-50 on that one. I think there's a real chance that he's done here, and I think he knows that too. Just talking to him this offseason, he's like, hope I'm back next year. I don't know.
Caden Ellis.
I think there's a pretty good chance that they try to lock him up before free agency even starts, and don't even let him get to the market. I think they might have to make some moves before then to clear up some space. Obviously, they're going to have to clear up some space, right? They're in their usual spot, tens of millions of dollars over the salary cap. But I wouldn't be surprised if they make some releases, some renegotiations, and they clear up enough cap space to sign him to a 4 or 5 year deal. It's something that is paying him what he's worth, which is a lot more now than what we were thinking he'd be getting, in September of last year. So obviously he earned himself into a nice contract. It's just, it's depending on whether the Saints want to let him see how much that is, or whether they want to offer him something that's fair before he even gets a chance to look at the open market.
Luke, we appreciate you coming on each and every week during the season as news breaks. We'll kind of hit you up again, but we'll let you off the hook next week, man. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, sounds good, man. We'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, we'll get you out to the box. First beer's on me this spring. We can get you out here. That sound good to you?
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like they're going to be hitting dingers left and right. I can't wait to be out there seeing that stuff, man. Let's go.
All right, man. Be well, Luke.
All right.
That's Luke Johnson of The Advocate, by Luke Johnson for all your Saints needs. He has been with us each and every week, giving us awesome insight, and we appreciate it. And look, as things happen, if Sean Payton finds a landing spot or his guys are moved on from, or there's a quarterback development, we'll certainly hit up Luke. But we appreciate him jumping on for Saints business since August. He's been with us each and every week, so we really certainly appreciate it. All right, so those of you who have listened to me on these airwaves for 10-plus years know that you've made fun of me for not knowing anything about movies. You know that I am a stick-to-sports guy on the radio. Like, I stick to sports. I want people to stick to sports. We're going to close out the next hour. We're not going to stick to sports in the next segment. So if you're a stick-to-sports guy, you can come back at 2 o'clock. We'll start talking some hoops. But I'm not going to stick to sports in the next story, because my morning this morning was something that if you would have told me this is going to be my morning as of 4 years ago, I would have laughed in your face. We'll get to that story to close out hour number 1 next.
Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
NFL Wildcard Weekend is here. The easiest way to get into the playoffs is with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. New customers, you can join today or get started with $150 in free bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. Just sign up with a promo code 1045ESPN. FanDuel's got all your favorite bets from the money line to point spreads to player props. Plus, you can even combine your bets for a chance at an even bigger payout with a same-game parlay. I'm probably going to be on the Bengals this weekend. If you'd like to do that as well, jump in on FanDuel. You can do it all on an app that's safe, secure, and super easy to use. So football fans, don't miss out. Place your first $5 bet to get $150 in free bets, win or lose, with the promo code 1045ESPN. Must be 21 and present in Louisiana. First online real money wager only. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issues, no eligible free bets. Expires in 14 days. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. If you're somebody who has a gambling problem wants help, call 1-877-770-STOP.
Our listeners fire up their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You ever heard the tale of the misunderstood bull? A menacing beast that was born to float. A force of nature. The embodiment of grace. Quite grand, yet quiet and nimble. The Infinity QX80.
Experience the Infinity QX80 at your local Infinity retailer.
Time doesn't stop, and the world keeps spinning. Community, culture, and communications. The powerful circle that connects us together. We're creating the next evolution. A network built for every possibility. Moving faster than ever before. Streaming us forward into the future. And the revolution is closer than you think. RTC, ETEL, and Vision are now Rev. New name, same company.
Follow us on Twitter at 1045ESPN to cast your vote in the Citizens Bank and Trust poll of the day. Vote daily inside Off the Bench, anytime. Hunt Palmer. And after further review, Citizens Bank and Trust brings you the poll of the day via Twitter at 1045ESPN.
At Auctioner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Auctioner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one. You. Auctioner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
Louisiana. It's a place defined by culture, by pride, by passion, by people who do more than love this place. They celebrate it, elevate it, champion it. They are the individuals who embody what makes Louisiana great. The companies that make Louisiana a better place to work and live. The nonprofits leading transformational change in our communities. Champions of Louisiana are all around us, and LWCC is proud to celebrate them because we've always been Louisiana loyal, supporting the workers, the innovators, the change agents of this great place we call home. Who are the champions around you? Together, we can share their stories. Together, we can help our home state thrive. Together, we are Louisiana loyal. Always.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years.
Me, Jimmy Odd, and Charles Henniger for the Thursday evening edition of Game Time presented by Bet Rivers. We're downtown at Jolly Pearl Oyster Bar on North facing Town Square. Game Time, 6 to 8 p.m., presented by Bet Rivers on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
All right, closing down hour number one. I told you, teasing this segment, that it was going to be a little different. We're not going to stick to sports here. I'm going to tell you about my morning. First of all, a little backstory. I grew up with dogs. Had the greatest dog in the world, Angel. It was incredible. Never barked, never licked, never bit, just hung out. It was awesome. Never had a cat in my entire life. Never wanted a cat in my entire life. Cats look gross and kind of not like dogs. They're not affectionate. They don't listen. They just kind of do their own thing. Not a cat guy. Well, my girlfriend at the time becomes my fiance, Alyssa, and she's moving to Baton Rouge from the north. She says, "Can we get a cat?" I said, "Absolutely not. There's no chance we're getting a cat." She said, "Well, wait a second. Like, I'm moving from Metairie here. I don't really know anybody here. I'm changing jobs." And I said, "You know what? That's a reasonable point. You can get a cat." So we go to Cat Haven, and we pick out Teeny. I'm not all that interested, but this is my pet. We got to deal with it. Well, fast forward 2 years later, I'm obsessed with the cat. Love Teeny. She's awesome. Not like a dog. Doesn't listen. Does her own thing. Affectionate when she wants to be, but not other times. Bites holes in Myers' nipples bottles, not his actual ones, the ones he uses for the bottle. Caught that in a second. I don't think you can use that as sound clip because I kept talking right in it. But, bites the nipples off his bottles. She's a cat. But I never thought of myself as being a cat guy, but I am. And as y'all know, a couple months ago, Teeny got out, and that had never happened before, and we didn't know where she was, and she was gone for like 5 hours. And the next-door neighbor found Teeny, which was great. Now we've kept her in, whatever. So fast forward to this morning. I was asleep last night next to my wife, and I heard kind of a loud bang. And I went, well, Teeny just knocked something over, like clearly. So I didn't get up because it was, I don't know what time it was. It was probably 3 o'clock in the morning, whatever, but I heard it. So I went back to sleep, and when I woke up this morning, I had forgotten about it, forgotten that it woke me up. But I walked into the living room first and saw our end table by the couch flipped over. It's one of those where the top rests on the base. There's nothing to secure it. So Teeny obviously jumped on it, and it just knocked in this huge lamp, which was gifted to us, and it's very nice, and I think probably pretty expensive, shattered on the floor. So I know we're not off to a good start this morning. You got to sweep up the lamp. We've broken a picture frame of Myers. We got some issues. Teeny is in a little bit of trouble. So we're a little bit behind because we have to clean up all the lamp stuff. So Alyssa tells me to go put Myers in the car because she's going to take him to daycare. Well, as I walk outside, our neighbors who have found Teeny 3 months earlier are kneeling in my driveway looking through my other next-door neighbor's fence. And I go, "Hey, what are you doing?" And they go, "Our cat got out. We see him, but we can't get to him. He's in this backyard." Well, I know those next door neighbors, and they're not home. We called them. They're not there. But we can see the cat. He can't get back. So I'm in pajama pants and a T-shirt. And I'm like, well, I'll hop the air conditioner vent and go try to get this cat. So this fence is jagged at the top. It's got these plastic things. And I go to jump over and rip my forearms to shreds. I look like I have a significant intravenous drugs problem on my arms this morning because I've ripped my forearms to shreds. But I get into the backyard, but it scares the cat. So the cat starts running, and he gets into this corner that I can't really get to. Now it starts pouring raining. I mean, driving rain for the 5 minutes that it rained this morning. So I'm out here trying to get the neighbor's cat in the other's neighbor yard, ripped up, bleeding forearms. I get to the cat. He starts going nuts, scratches me all up because he doesn't know who I am, but I'm trying to hand him off to the neighbor. I get him handed off to the neighbor. I'm going to jump over the fence and rip my pajama pants because, of course, I do. It's pouring down rain. So now it is 7 o'clock in the morning. I have ripped up bloody arms. I'm soaking wet, and I've gone to rescue a cat. If you would have told me 3 years ago that would be where I am, but I owed these people one because they saved my cat. It was not a great start to the morning. Not a great start to the Thursday morning. But we're here. We're getting it done. And in hour number 2, we'll talk about some sports. But every once in a while, you just have a disastrous morning, and I just never thought in a million years mine would center around 2 delinquent cats. But you never know what curveballs life's going to throw at you. Just glad Teeny's safe and sound. And we got the neighbor's cat. I can't remember what his name was, but he's safe and sound too. My arms are here to show for it. That'll do it for hour number 1. If you missed any of it, catch it on demand, 1045ESPN.com's on demand page. You can catch every show on our network there, but you can also catch all of our stuff as well. We opened the show talking about Walker Howard going to the transfer portal. I gave my thoughts on what led to this and what situation LSU is in. If you want to catch that, you certainly can on all of our Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube. Where you can find our on-demand stuff. I talked about NFL playoff odds, a couple of long shots that I kind of like for Super Bowl. Luke Johnson, as he's with us every single Thursday, will join us at 1:30 talking Saints. In the second hour, we're going to talk some SEC hoops from last night. Some of my gambling picks that didn't go so hot. And things are worse than I thought at Kentucky. Kyle Tucker from The Athletic covers Kentucky, and he had some really, really interesting reporting that he did. I'll talk about that in the second hour. And LSU just lost out on a potential transfer portal guy and had a player go into the transfer portal a little bit earlier today. We'll talk about that in hour number 2 as well. We'll, of course, play some Take It or Leave It. Come back with us after Sports Center, hour 2 on a Thursday. Coming at you, Hunt Palmer Show, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $10,000 off MSRP on all new 2022 Black Widow Jeep Gladiators in stock. All new Bayou vehicles come with a 1 million mile powertrain warranty and free delivery. If you need sales or service, the crew at Bayou is going to do right by you.
This is a house call. This is a follow-up appointment. This is a diabetes checkup. This isn't just more convenient care, it's more advanced care. This is innovating healthcare at Louisiana's #1 hospital, Ochsner.
Eli's always been into grilling. It took us a while to see it, but the signs were there.
What are you doing, Eli? I knew grilling was my thing. I have been talking about it throughout my career.
Happy with the results?
I am. Got the new grill from barbecueguys.com. It performed great.
My advice, as I always told my boys,
do more of what you were born to do.
Barbecue Guys, for those who were born to grill.
You want cheese on your burger, Pops?
I'll take a little cheese.
Time doesn't stop, and the world keeps spinning. Community, culture, and communications, the powerful circle that connects us together. We're creating the next evolution, a network built for every possibility, moving faster than ever before, streaming us forward into the future. And the revolution is closer than you think. RTC, ETEL, and Vision are now Rev. New name, same company.
You ever heard the tale of the misunderstood bull? A menacing beast that was born to float. A force of nature. The embodiment of grace. Quite grand, yet quiet and nimble. The Infiniti QX80.
Experience the Infiniti QX80 at your local Infiniti retailer.
Louisiana. It's a place defined by culture, by pride, by passion, by people who do more than love this place. They celebrate it, elevate it, champion it. They are the individuals who embody what makes Louisiana great. The companies that make Louisiana a better place to work and live. The nonprofits leading transformational change in our communities. Champions of Louisiana are all around us, and LWCC is proud to celebrate them because we've always been Louisiana loyal, supporting the workers, the innovators, the change agents of this great place we call home. Who are the champions around you? Together, we can share their stories. Together, we can help our home state thrive. Together, we are Louisiana loyal. Always.
I've got that blue sky. I've got got that sunshine.
I'm Christine Lisi. Cowboys coach Mike McCarthy today addressing reporters as his team continues to prepare for Monday night's NFC wildcard game against the Buccaneers. He said despite the disappointing offensive performance in the regular season finale, their approach stays the same. He added they love who they are. There are concerns, though, for Dallas heading into the matchup for ESPN senior NFL writer Bill Barnwell.
Last week was bad, but the last 3 weeks with Tony Pollard hurt, Tyler Biadasz, their starting center, sidelined by a high ankle sprain, Terrence Steele, their right tackle, out for the year. They have struggled to run the ball, and Dak is turning the ball over. Dak's interception rate this year, twice his career average, 11 interceptions in their last 7 games.
Bill Barnwell on Fitz and Harry. Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta would be the neutral site for an AFC championship game between the Chiefs and Bills. Other potential AFC title game matchups would take place at the home stadium of the higher seed. ESPN's Adam Schefter reports the Broncos will interview former Saints coach Sean Payton for their head coaching vacancy on Tuesday. The Bears have hired Big Ten Commissioner Kevin Warren as their new president and CEO.
How would you love a chance to save some money on car insurance? Geico can help. Switch today and see all the ways you could save with great rates and discounts. It's easy. Simply go to geico.com to get a rate quote and get started seeing how much you could save.
Now, Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Holding down the middle of the day. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Hour 2 from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio downtown in the capital city. Hunt Palmer here with you. Thanks for making us a part of your day. We're getting closer to the weekend now. Inching towards the end of Thursday. You can see the light at the end of the tunnel. That is for sure. SEC basketball last night. There were 3 games. Alabama was at Arkansas. Missouri was at A&M. And Mississippi State was at Georgia. I gave my picks yesterday if you were listening to the show. I wanted to kind of dive into some of those games, more so just to briefly touch on Alabama, who LSU will play coming up on Saturday in Coleman Coliseum. Tied 14-2 on the season. They're 4-0 in league play after their win last night, 84-69. It's a legit top 5 team and a legitimate national championship contender to this point. It was really impressive to watch them go into Bud Walton last night against an Arkansas team that was 1-2 in the league. I wouldn't say back against the wall, but just things have not gone great for them since they lost Trevin Brazile. And we know that Nick Smith has not been out there, and there's some real doubt that he's going to play at all. But it's Bud Walton. They've still got some talent. That can be a really difficult place to go in there and win. And Alabama, they've got such an identity. And they're really talented. They're well coached. And I can't encapsulate it really any better than they had a back and forth first half with Arkansas, and they went to the break tied at 33. And Bama built a lead early in the second half. And Arkansas chipped away at it and kind of made a little bit of a push. And they cut it to 2 at 65-63 Alabama with 4 minutes and 55 seconds to go. I'm thinking, all right, let me settle in. This is going to be a heck of a finish here at Bud Walton. Arkansas is pushing at them. It's a little bit chippy out there. The home crowd's into it. I think Arkansas's got a chance to finish this thing off. Bama comes down, boom, Noah Clowney, 6'10", hits a 3 from the corner. Arkansas turns it over. Brandon Miller comes off a screen, bam, hits a 3. Arkansas goes down, turn it over. Brandon Miller caught it. You knew it was going up immediately, bam, hits a 3 in 43 seconds. They hit 3 threes, forced a couple of turnovers, and ballooned that lead from 2 to 11, and it was cooked. And it's one thing to coach guys to shoot a lot of threes. It's another thing to have enough talent on your roster where you've got 2 guys 6'9 plus who hit 3 threes in 45 seconds. And Nate Oates coaches them. Trust me, I don't like Nate Oates at all. But he coaches them to shoot and be aggressive. And when you do that, guys respond to it. They shoot confidently. And then when you've got a top 5 pick and Miller on your team, he's just going to do his own thing. But they scored 84 points at Bud Walton, and they at the same time held Arkansas to 69. Arkansas went 2 of 10 from three-point range. This continues to be a talking point. They don't overextend themselves from 2. They just never make any of them. And you just can't win in basketball, really, period, at this point, if you can't stretch the floor. And they can't. And they've lost their post man, and they've lost their best, most skilled offensive player. Anthony Black got in foul trouble. He's the point guard for Arkansas. He goes 2 of 12 from the floor, 1 of 5 from free throws. That's no good. He's really talented. He's really long. He's quick. He's 6'7". He's just not a good scorer at this point. And to further what talent Alabama has, they did this with Brandon Miller not taking a shot in the first 18 minutes of the game. Not scoring. He didn't take a shot. Mark Sears, who I'll talk about tomorrow, had 26 points on the road. He's a transfer from Ohio. He was in the PMAC last year. That Ohio team that was good. He went 10 of 10 from the free throw line, and he was the guy who did most of the heavy lifting. Arkansas is in trouble. Eric Musselman went to the press conference last night. I think some people will say he's making excuses or they won't like the quote or whatever the case may be. I think he's telling the truth, and I believe him. I don't pull for his team either, but he goes to the post-game press conference and says, look, we are not very good on offense. It's not an opinion, it's a fact. And we built our team around 2 guys that aren't here, so we're going to have to change some things. And some people say, oh, he's blaming injuries. Well, he's just telling you that was supposed to be his 2-guard and his 5-man, and they're not there. So things are a little different. But that Arkansas team is still a nice win for LSU to get it here in Baton Rouge. Does it look quite as good as it did then? No, but it's still a nice win. But Arkansas, in a bigger picture, they've got issues this year, and I don't know if they're going to get fixed. Mississippi State and Georgia played last night, furthered the narrative, which is becoming more and more true. Mississippi State cannot score. They won a lot of games in non-conference because they put the vice grip on people and they played great defense, and they continue to do that, but they cannot score. They scored 50 points against Georgia. 50. You play Tennessee and you don't break 50. Okay, this is Georgia. You got to go score some points. You know what would really help Mississippi State? If their 5-man, the most accomplished player on their team, Tolu Smith, didn't go 3 of 11 on free throws. Mississippi State for the game was 7 of 22 from the free throw line. Is this 7th grade? 7 of 22 on free throws. That's tough. That's missing 15 free throws and losing by 8 on the road. Mississippi State offensively real tough to watch. And then the last game, which I whiffed so hard on my picks. I told you, I know A&M plays hard. They're a pretty good defensive team. And Missouri is fun on offense. I like Missouri to go down there and get it done. I'm catching 4 points there. I'll take that. They lost by 18. A&M was up 43-21 at the half. They allowed 43 points to A&M in the first half. But Missouri came out fired in the second half, and they hit some shots and got it to reasonably respectable, and then A&M separated again. All 5 A&M starters were in double figures. They shot 32 free throws. You remember my preview of that A&M game last week? I said, look, they get to the free throw line so much. LSU actually didn't allow them to get to the free throw line too often, but they shot 32 free throws. They were 24 of 32, 24 makes, and Missouri only shot 21. That's the old basketball axiom, make more free throws than they attempt. A&M pulled that off. I know that there's a lot of free throws, so it makes a little bit of a disparity, but Missouri outshot Texas A&M 59-45. They took 14 more shots. I know the free throw disparity. I get it. But Missouri only turned it over 9 times. They just couldn't make shots. They shot 36%. Goes back to make or miss sport. LSU got some shots in College Station. Didn't make them. LSU got some shots in the game on Tuesday night. They didn't make them. KJ 1 for 9. Miller 1 for 8. Juice Hill 1 for 6. You got to make some shots. And Missouri got a lot of shots, didn't turn it over. They just didn't make shots. So last night, Bama beats Arkansas 84-69. A&M beats Missouri 82-64, and Georgia beats Missouri 58-50. Looking at a brief clip at of the SEC standings as we're through a couple of weeks now of Southeastern Conference play. Got a couple teams sitting there at the top, unbeaten. Of course, Alabama yet to lose. Tennessee is 4-0, and Texas A&M joins them at 3-0. The one-loss teams right now, Auburn and Georgia. Everyone else is at 500 or worse at this point in league play. So again, I think you start to talk about Ole Miss, not very good. State cannot score. Arkansas has got serious offensive problems. So does LSU. I'm going to get into Kentucky's issues in the next segment. I promise you it's not just, oh, they're kind of losing. No, they got Kyle Tucker's mailbag was incredible yesterday. I'm going to read you some of the excerpts from it. South Carolina stinks. Vanderbilt stinks. Florida's not exactly great. Missouri didn't look very good last night. I don't know about Georgia. I mean, I just rattled off 10 teams that I don't know how good they are. The top's really good. Bama and Tennessee are national title type contenders. I like Bama more than Tennessee because I trust them on both sides of the floor more than I trust Tennessee on offense. But there are winnable games in this league. I didn't even mention Texas A&M, who's not exactly a world beater, even though they're 4-0. So it's 3-0 in league play. Sorry. So that's the SEC is not exactly absolutely a gauntlet as we thought it was. Just the stretch LSU's in right now is not a lot of fun because it involves Alabama and Tennessee. So continue. We'll talk LSU and Bama tomorrow. All right, so I've teased this a couple times. I believe that this market is not a massive basketball market. I think if LSU gets very, very good, yeah, we would love to talk about it, love to cheer the team, but year in, year out, it's not. However, the SEC is an important deal around here, and the Kentucky basketball coach and that program are a big deal in this league. I read some things reported by Kyle Tucker this morning that really opened my eyes to what's going on in Lexington. I'll kind of lay some of that out coming up next.
Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
LWCC is Louisiana loyal. They're elevating and celebrating champions of Louisiana each and every day here on the Hunt Palmer Show. All January long, we've been telling you about Hunters for the Hungry. It's a nonprofit that was founded by a group of local hunters to share the game and fish that they harvest every year with the needy. They started in 1994, and over time, they've partnered with all 5 major food banks here in Louisiana. Did you know that one deer can provide 240 meals? 240 meals. And Hunters for the Hungry does their best to take what is very, very popular and very, very, very huge in our economy, that is hunting and fishing, to help some of the needy. They do something like the Freshly Harvested Game program that allows hunters to harvest a deer, drop it at one of the partner processors around the state. That processor is going to take care of the handling and the preparation and packaging, and then drop off that bounty at a community food bank or a shelter, and there's no cost to the hunter for this. It's one of the great things that Hunters for the Hungry does. That's why they're a champion of Louisiana. If you know a nonprofit, if you know a person who is a champion of our great state that should be elevated, that should be celebrated, we want to do it. Go to lwcc.com/champions, lwcc.com/champions, and nominate them to be a champion of Louisiana like Hunters for the Hungry. Hunters for the Hungry, our champion of Louisiana, presented by LWCC.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
I've got that blue sky, I've got that sunshine.
At Auctioner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Auctioner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one: you. Auctioner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
ServiceMaster Elite create clean, disinfected work environments. As a local business, we take pride in serving the New Orleans and Baton Rouge areas. Our cleaning protocols follow CDC and OSHA standards for healthcare settings, offices, senior living, restaurants, and industrial plants. Contact ServiceMaster Elite to get your operation ready for reopening with germ disinfection cleaning. ServiceMaster Elite, the trusted choice in professional cleaning since 1996.
Eli's always been into grilling. It took us a while to see it, but the signs were there.
What are you doing, Eli? I knew grilling was my thing. I have been talking about it throughout my career.
Happy with the results?
I am. Got the new grill from barbecueguys.com. It performed great.
My advice, as I always told my boys,
do more of what you're born to do.
Barbecue Guys, for those who were born to grill.
On Friday's OTB. Let's celebrate, people. The weekend's about to begin, and we get you ready for the NFL playoffs. Look forward to packing the PMAC for Simone on Sunday. A brand new DJ Dome as well as some champagne shenanigans. Off the bench, 7 to 10 a.m., 104.5 ESPN.
You're listening to Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
So if you listen fairly frequently, you know that over the last 2 weeks I've talked about the Kentucky basketball program kind of slipping a little bit. And the natives are a little restless up there, and that's understandable, and that's not a massive news story. When Kentucky loses basketball games, their fans don't like it, and that's what's going on right now. It's not unlike Alabama football. It's not unlike LSU baseball. It is the poster child for the league in that sport and one of the strongest brands in the country. And right now, it's just not quite where they want it to be. This team got absolutely embarrassed by Gonzaga, got absolutely embarrassed by Alabama, got beat by South Carolina in Rupp, who might be the worst team in the league. It's a little cranky this year. Last year, they were a 2 seed in the NCAA tournament. They lost to St. Peter's. They lost to Evansville in Rupp in the very recent past. In 2021, they were 9-16 on the season, the worst in Kentucky history. They have not been to the Final Four since 2015. That is not the standard. Now, we all know that. That's right in front of our eyes. You see them lose, you understand that's unacceptable. But there's more that goes into this story. Kyle Tucker, who incidentally is one of 2 people I think who's ever blocked me on Twitter that I knew about. He's now off Twitter, so I guess I'm not blocked anymore. But he kept making comments about Will Wade and his damn strong offer whenever LSU would lose, and I just quote tweeted it and said, I can't believe John Calipari's beat writer feels like he needs to be doing this after every LSU loss. He apparently didn't like that, so he blocked me. That's his prerogative. I'm sure he's a fine guy. I don't have any beef with him, but you can't be hypocritical and praise Kentucky's program with John Calipari, who has banners ripped out of the rafters routinely at different stops around the country. But Kyle Tucker wrote a mailbag. Kyle Tucker is a capital J journalist. He is not some wacko with a blog. He's not some fan like me. He's a journalist who is covering Kentucky. He has sources. He's not going to write things that he doesn't have verified. He's got his hand on the pulse of that and has for a decade. So he wrote a mailbag that brought some things to life that have really kind of picked up some steam on Twitter. So John Calipari got a quote-unquote lifetime contract. It continues to roll over, and at this point, they're not going to fire John Calipari. If they did, based on the language of that contract, the number after this year would be $39.75 million. That's not necessarily something that I think is on the horizon. However, there are some things in this mailbag that are not really common knowledge until now. One, he reports that John Calipari has privately raised $30 million, most of which is from his former players who are in the NBA, to build a new practice facility. Mitch Barnhart, the athletic director, said no. He's not happy about that. Clearly, he told Kyle Tucker that, and it's been floated. So now everybody's going, well, we got this money. Why don't we build the practice facility? Well, it doesn't appear that Cal and Mitch Barnhart are on great terms. They rarely speak, according to Tucker. Barnhart does not go to very many games anymore and has not been to a practice in years, apparently. That used to be a pretty frequent occurrence. 80s don't have to go to practice. Scott Woodward likes to go to practice of football. He's usually there. But you don't have to, but it's a pretty big deal. And Mitch Barnhart, I think, during the early years of Calipari, early years of Barnhart being there, he would go. He doesn't anymore. Now, there was a dust-up this summer. You'll remember this. Cal said, we're a basketball school. That was not necessarily met with wonderful reaction up in Lexington by some people, specifically in the football department. Now, John Calipari, you can take him or you can leave him. I think he's a pretty likable dude on the surface. Now, you put the big blue K on, and I get it. There's a little bit of brashness, a little bit of arrogance that goes with it. But, you know, I don't dislike the guy. I don't necessarily think he's a wonderful X and O basketball coach. I think he did it by recruiting, which is one way to do it in college basketball. But I think he's a reasonable guy. I think he reads the room, and I think he's pretty well-spoken and says most of the right things. He realized he should not have said, we're a basketball school. He wanted to apologize. Mitch Barnhart said, no, sit down, be quiet. And then Mitch Barnhart went to have a press conference with Mark Stoops and basically ripped Calipari for an hour. And you can say, well, I don't know how much that's true. Well, Matt Jones, who's very plugged into Kentucky and is a fan, he calls Kentucky we, backed it up on Twitter. They said, yeah, that's true. Cal said it, realized he shouldn't have said it, wanted to apologize. Barnhart said no. So clearly, this is an icy relationship between the athletic director and the basketball coach. One part of this to me, how? How can we have such massive egos that we allow the head of the athletic department and the most important program in the athletic department to have a fractured relationship? Why can't we sit down like two reasonably intelligent adults and just bury this hatchet? Clearly, that's not happening. So the Texas job's open. You want to look at that, John Calipari? Does Kentucky want to just bite the bullet and get rid of him? Well, it's not just the $39.75 million you would forfeit as a buyout if you did move on from John Calipari, whose results are not very good over the last 5 years. However, if you did that with the buyout, you'd also lose this signing class. Number 1 player in the nation. Number 2 player in the nation. Number 5 player in the nation. Number 9 player in the nation. That's 4 of the top 9. And the number 30 player in the nation. It is thought of as potentially the highest rated signing class in college basketball history. And if you fire him or he goes to Texas, guess who's going to Texas? All of them. Do you consider that when you're looking at the basketball program? I don't know. But it appears that Cal got his fastball back. You know, he was getting all the big name guys. He was getting Anthony Davis and Derrick Rose and John Wall and DeMarcus Cousins and Eric Bledsoe and the Harrison twins. And I think I mentioned Karl Anthony Towns. And like, he's getting the blue chip guys, Devin Booker and Tyler Ulis. And then it kind of slowed down there. Duke jumped into the one and done game. And you would think that Zion and Brandon Ingram, Jahlil Okafor, those are the guys that Cal was getting. And then kind of Duke swept in and got him. And so Cal started relying on some more transfers. And that looked pretty good last year. They were 2 seed, and they lost to St. Peter's. But it looks like kind of got his fastball back with recruiting, and he's got this monster class coming in. Does that matter? It's fascinating to me that Kentucky's athletic director would allow a relationship with their basketball coach to go this far sour, where he's silencing him on apologies, he's ixnaying practice facilities, they're not speaking, he's not going to games. That should not happen. And these guys should sit in the room and bury the hatchet, in my opinion. But you allow Kentucky fans to kind of look around and go, what should we hire? Nate Oates? Would Brad Stevens come take this job? It's Kentucky. It's how we feel when the baseball job comes open. Who we can take whoever we want. I had an interaction with a Tennessee friend of mine right after the LSU Super Regional when they lost Tennessee and Maneri was gone. He said, please don't take our coach. I said, we determine who your coach is, not you. I don't even know if that was true, but it felt cool to say it. Like, if we offer the job and it's the Tennessee job or the LSU job, we win. And Kentucky feels that way, I'm sure, about their basketball coach. Just about anybody. If we decide that's our guy, that's our guy. And Calipari was the perfect Kentucky fit for 10 years. Big, brash, bold, recruiting, slick back hair, the suit with the blue tie, winning lots of games, at the NBA draft every year, press conference sound bites. He was the perfect fit. It doesn't feel like that anymore. And I didn't realize that all of this was going on the underneath as well. That ship will not sail. It will sink if they don't get a little bit better aligned. Brian Kelly term, alignment. But I found it fascinating. Things iffy for the Big Blue Nation right now with John Calipari. I want to remind you that former LSU Tigers Aaron and Austin Nola are going to be doing the 2023 Strikeout ALS Bowling event. The Nola brothers teaming up once again to help raise critical funds and awareness for the fight against ALS. This year's Strikeout ALS is going to be held at Red Stick Social a week from today, Thursday, January the 19th, from 5 to 10 p.m. You can purchase tickets at als.org/strikeoutals. I'll be there knocking some pins down if you'd like to be there as well. Love you to go to als.org/strikeoutals to buy tickets for Strikeout ALS with Aaron and Austin Nola. We will take a timeout, come back, some transfer portal news for LSU. One guy with the program headed out. One guy that LSU had targeted and brought in for a visit has decided where he's going to go. I'll tell you all about that next on the Hunt Palmer Show.
Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Bayou Ford. Check out the website, BayouFord.com. Whether you're looking for the F-150, Explorer Expedition, maybe the Focus, the Edge, maybe it's a Mustang for you or the new Broncos. Go to BayouFord.com and check out their inventory. They update that site so frequently. As inventory comes in, they update it. As it moves out, they update it. All the deals, all the specials are right there, and they've always got great ones over at Bayou Ford. They don't have exactly what you want. Call Ben Gagne and the team at Bayou Ford and say, hey, I want to customize a vehicle. This is what I'm thinking. They will do it for you, and they can turn that car around in 60 to 90 days. That Bayou to you special, that's for the drivers. Once you order that car and it comes in, you don't have to go pick it up at the dealership. They will bring the car and all the paperwork right to your front door. Come on in. Sign it all. They're out the door, and you've got that brand new car sitting in your driveway. Every new purchase, 1 million mile powertrain warranty over there at Bayou Ford. It's all about convenience at Bayou Ford. They do such a wonderful job. Proud to be sponsors here at the Hunt Palmer Show. Bayou Ford. They're going to do right by you.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is a house call. This is a follow-up appointment. This is a diabetes checkup. This isn't just more convenient care, it's more advanced care. This is innovating healthcare at Louisiana's #1 hospital, Ochsner.
Before we begin any electrical work here, we perform a home safety check that begins at your electrical panel to make sure that you and your family are safe. For all your upgrades, installations, and repairs, call Mr. Electric.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further. like vans customized for work or play. With safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Time doesn't stop, and the world keeps spinning. Community, culture, and communications, the powerful circle that connects us together. We're creating the next evolution, a network built for every possibility, moving faster than ever before, streaming us forward into the future. And the revolution is closer than you think. RTC, ETEL, and Vision are now Rev. New name, same company.
Follow us on Twitter at 1045ESPN to cast your vote in the Citizens Bank and Trust poll of the day. Vote daily inside off the bench, anytime. Hunt Palmer. And after further review, Citizens Bank and Trust brings you the poll of the day via Twitter at 1045ESPN.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
You ever heard the tale of the misunderstood bull? A menacing beast who was born to float. A force of nature. The embodiment of grace. Quite grand, yet quiet and nimble. The Infiniti QX80.
Experience the Infiniti QX80 at your local.
NFL Wild Card Weekend. Tune in Saturday when the 49ers host the Seahawks at 3:30 p.m., immediately followed by the Jaguars and Chargers at 7:15. Then on Sunday, the Bills host the Dolphins at noon, the Vikings host the Giants at 3:30, and the Bengals host the Ravens at 7:15. Right here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Some news out of the transfer portal regarding LSU football earlier today. Edge player Xavier Carter has decided to enter his name into the transfer portal. That's a guy who we've mentioned many times as filling in on the edge because you understand that B.J. Ojulari and Ali Gay were moving on, and then you lost Desmond Little, and the defections kind of continued to come. You still got Quincy Wiggins there. But Xavier Carter is a guy that we thought you would have. You still got Savion Jones there, but Xavier Carter is a guy you thought you would have. But it appears he's going to move on into the transfer portal. That's a guy that played some in the bowl game and I think would have been in line to play some more on this team. I realize that you've brought in some guys you think are going to fit the edge, like Swinson. And so, you know, it's not free playing time for everybody, but I feel like Xavier Carter would have played on this coming up team, but it doesn't appear that's going to be to happen, so he transfers out. Justin Rogers is a guy from Kentucky that we have talked a lot about on this show. He's a guy that came in for a visit to LSU, and he is going to head to Auburn. Came on a visit to LSU. This is a guy who was a former 5-star prospect and played for Kentucky over the last couple of years, but is going to move on, and he's going to head to Auburn. Now, look, take this for what it's worth, because Twitter is not always real life. And I've told you that Matt Jones is very much like me, just a fan that's made a living out of some radio up there at Kentucky. And he said, this is an NIL deal. Kentucky's got to get with it. I don't know if he only went for the NIL money or not. I'm not really concerned with if he went in the NIL money or not. But he is going to go to Auburn. So it sounds like Auburn does, Rodgers or not, have a pretty solid war chest put together for name, image, and likeness stuff. And Rodgers is going to take them up on that. Now, one thing I wanted to look at with the Walker Howard news of the day. If you missed my thoughts on Walker Howard, they led the show today. So if you want to catch it on demand, you certainly can. But with Walker Howard's signing, I wanted to go back and look at the last two signing classes because I caught a little bit of heat. Not like he's wrong, or it was more like, hey, this is a happy day. Why would you throw ice water on it in a way? And it wasn't really my intention on signing day. I just told you what I felt. And what I felt was half these guys are never going to help. That's just the way it goes. And if you look back at the last two signing classes, I mean, look at the 2021 signing class. You signed the one from 2 years ago that just played their first year. That just played their second year. I'm sorry. Look, just played their second year. This would be third-year players entering next year. You signed 23. 9 of them are gone after 2 years. I mean, still got 14, but 9 are gone. Then you look at the 2020 class that you signed right after the national championship. You signed 22 high school players in that class. Care to guess how many are coming back for their fourth year of the 22 they signed? Jacoby and Guillory and Marlon Martinez. 2. 20 are gone. Now, you've had some really good players in that class. Jacoby and Jaquelin Roy, B.J. Ojolari, guys that played a ton and went on to the NFL. So I'm not suggesting they didn't help at all. But if you look at next season's football roster, and you look at in a a bygone era of 10 years ago, and I told you that the team that you're going to take the field with that is guys that are supposed to be in their fourth year or their third year with the program, that should be the bulk of your team. Fourth-year players and third-year players should be taking the lion's share of it. That was 45 players that you signed. There are 14 left. 45 that you signed. There are 14 left. 31 gone. Some draft that helped. So I'm not suggesting they're split. But that would have never been sustainable 10 years ago. And you know that. Like, you understand how the game has changed. But I think when you put numbers to things, they become more impactful. And when I tell you that 22 guys signed in 2020 and they're almost all gone, that is kind of jarring to me. I mean, you can run through the names, and some of them you'll be like, oh, yeah, good player. And some of them you'll be like, well, I mean, I forgot that guy even existed. But that's like the nature of the sport now, is that you celebrate these commitments and you celebrate the recruiting process and you pay attention to it and you lock in, but you understand that it's a good thing to get a bunch of high school players to jump in and decide they want to be part of your program. But man, how quickly are they going to jump out the door? Probably in most cases, pretty quick. I'll go to the 2020 class that LSU signed. These guys would be entering their fourth year. And great players don't stay 4 years, but a lot of players in a bygone era did stay for 4 years. Eric Gilbert, didn't help, gone. Eli Ricks, stayed 2 years, gone. Kayshawn, went to the league, gone. Jaquelin went to the league, gone. Phillip Webb, transferred out. Jordan Tolles, transferred out. Ojolari went to the league, good. Jacoby and Guillory, one of the guys back. Antoine Sampa, gone. Marcus Dumerville, gone. Trey Bradford, gone. Josh White, gone. Max Johnson, gone. Eric Taylor, I don't even remember Eric Taylor, he's gone. Dwight McLaughlin, transferred to Arkansas. Coy Moore, Auburn. Marlon Martinez, gone. Alex Adams, gone. Cole Taylor, gone. Ali Gay, gone. Xavier Hill, gone. TJ Finley, gone. These would be your fourth-year players. These would be your third-year players. This would be the backbone of your team. Derek Davis, gone. Deion Smith, gone. Landon Jackson, gone. Corey Kiner, gone. Bryce Langston, hadn't seen him yet. Demarius McGee, gone. Greg Penn, starter on your team. Xavier Carter, gone. Jack Besh, gone. Bug Strong, gone. Jalen Sheed was here for like 5 minutes, gone. Payton Todd's a punter. Like, it happens quick. And I think, again, the point of the discussion is not to say, hey, Did you know that like guys transfer out and like you got to go to the transfer portal and like fill in the holes? Like, yeah, you know that. But when you put names to it and numbers to it, it's like, goodness gracious. So again, signing day, I'm fired up to pull some guys in, but inevitably half gone. More? Could be. So, but just sign as many guys as you can at high school. You don't even have to be judicious with your scholarships at this point. Just get as many guys in the boat as you can. When people leave, fill it back in. Never-ending battle with the transfer portal. And LSU lost a couple of battles today. Xavier Carter from the program has decided to transfer out, and Justin Rogers, a guy they were very, very much in on, has decided he is not going to come to LSU. He is instead headed to the Plains of Auburn. But they're not done. They're still hosting visitors. They're still talking to guys. And the rules, for those that don't know, you got a week. You got until the end of next week to get in the transfer portal. Once you're in, you can go wherever you want, whenever you want. But you cannot get in the transfer portal after the end of next week if you're not already in. Now, to wrap this thing up, there have been some reports. I cannot personally vouch for it, but there have been some reports that Garrett Nussmeier is 100% going to stay at LSU. I certainly hope that's the case. You need that to be the case. You cannot go into next season with just Jaden Daniels and Ricky Collins as a freshman. I don't anticipate they would do that, but I believe that Garrett Nussmeier is going to stay, and I think that was a huge piece of Walker Howard's decision to go. I don't think Walker Howard was likely very unhappy here or hated it or was looking for the first escape route. I think he talked to Garrett Nussmeier and said, yeah, I'm going to stay, and went, okay, that's probably it for me. That's my guess. And so I think that that LSU will have those two guys, in Jaden Daniels and Garrett Nussmeier, moving into next year. There's your transfer portal talk of the day. When we come back, we will play some Take It or Leave It, and we will get on down the road. Come back with us on the Hunt Palmer Show.
Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Love telling you about FanDuel, football fans. You can call your own plays during the NFL playoffs with FanDuel. It's America's #1 sportsbook. When you bet the same game parlays in the NFL now through January the 16th, all customers are going to get $100 in free bets, win or lose. All you got to do is place a total of $20 or more on a same-game parlay or a same-game parlay plus during the wild card round. The more you bet, the more you can get back in free bets. NFL same-game parlays are the perfect way to combine your bets for a chance at a larger payday. You can bet on quarterback passing yards, wide receivers to score a touchdown, wide receiver receiving yards. You can build your own same-game parlay or choose one of the popular same-game parlays that's pre-built for you in FanDuel's top-rated sportsbook app. If you're new to FanDuel Sportsbook, you can get up to $100 in free bets, win or lose. Sign up with the promo code 1045ESPN. Again, that's promo code 1045ESPN. Must be 21 and present in Louisiana. Bonus issues, non-withdrawable free bets. Expires 7 days after receipt. Max free bet $100. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. If you or someone who has a gambling problem wants help, call 1-877-770-STOP.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Louisiana. It's a place defined by culture, by pride, by passion, by people who do more than love this place. They celebrate it, elevate it, champion it. They are the individuals who embody what makes Louisiana great. The companies that make Louisiana a better place to work and live. The nonprofits leading transformational change in our communities. Champions of Louisiana are all around us, and LWCC is proud to celebrate them because we've always been Louisiana loyal, supporting the workers, the innovators, the change agents of this great place we call home. Who are the champions around you? Together, we can share their stories. Together, we can help our home state thrive. Together, we are Louisiana loyal. Always.
At Auctioner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Auctioner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one: You. Auctioneer Andrews Institute. Long live you.
ServiceMaster Elite create clean, disinfected work environments. As a local business, we take pride in serving the New Orleans and Baton Rouge areas. Our cleaning protocols follow CDC and OSHA standards for healthcare settings, offices, senior living, restaurants, and industrial plants. Contact ServiceMaster Elite to get your operation ready for reopening with germ disinfection cleaning. ServiceMaster Elite, the trusted choice in professional cleaning since 1996.
Eli's always been into grilling. It took us a while to see it, but the signs were there.
What are you doing, Eli? I knew grilling was my thing. I have been talking about it throughout my career.
Happy with the results?
I am. Got the new grill from barbecueguys.com. It performed great.
My advice?
Matt Moscona inviting you to join us for Thursday's AFR. More fallout from the news that Walker Howard transferring out of LSU. What does it mean for the Tigers as they move forward into 2023 and beyond? Join us, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
More primetime golf tonight. The Sony from Waialae Country Club down there in Hawaii. I think the telecast starts at 7, maybe 6. We'll be locked in. Can't wait. Picked Harris English this week in my fantasy golf. I know y'all are fired up about that. All right, let's play some Take It or Leave It, Taylor Sharp.
Yeah, let's do it. Mississippi State is hiring Appy State offensive coordinator Kevin Barbay to be its new OC. Take it or leave it.
I'll take it, sure. Appalachian State beat Texas A&M. Sounds like a good plan for me. I was curious if Arnett was going to go air raid or not. You obviously have a team that was recruited to that. You've got Will Rogers, a quarterback who's comfortable in that, and he decided not to. There are a lot of guys who are disciples and members of that coaching tree that could come in and do it, and it looks like he's going to go not necessarily traditional per se, but not a big-time air raid offense. And so I'm curious what Will Rogers thinks of that, but I think he did a pretty good job at Appalachian State, and I'm more interested not in the name of the coach, but in the style of the coach, and this is not going to be an air raid deal, so I found that pretty interesting.
Florida's five-star quarterback signee Jalen Rashada is asking for his national letter of intent to be released, reportedly due to an NIL deal falling through. Take it or leave it.
This one's tough. I guess I'll take it.
I'll take it.
He has been very open, to his credit, that NIL deals are very important to him. We talked about the story in The Athletic 2 weeks ago where they interviewed all these Under Armour American kids, and none of them said it was the most important thing. They said they're looking for development, looking to get to the league, that's where the money is, looking for a coach that I'm comfortable with, all that kind of stuff. Rashada has kind of said, it's a name, image, and likeness thing for me. And apparently, after he signed, he had some things that were supposed to happen that have not. I can't tell you what they are, the specifics of them. Not even 100% sure that it's true, but that's what it sounds like is being reported over there. And it's tough for me to feel like the program's in really good hands if I know that the quarterback is only there for the check. And it feels like Rashada is that way when he commits to one place, Miami, and then commits a different place to Florida, signs the letter of intent, and then says, wait a second, no. I've never seen any tape on the kid. He's a 5-star. Miami wants him. Florida wants him. He's probably a heck of a player. This feels like you may have some issues with the transfer portal right out of the chute, with team. It just doesn't feel like the guy I want with the keys to the offense. That's just the way it feels to me. It just, again, quarterbacks were getting paid previous to all of this. But transferring's never been easier, and he's trying to get out of his national letter of intent. I'm not wild about this one at all, and Florida's got some issues. It's been a bit of a bumpy run in recruiting. Florida State seems to have their feet on the ground. Miami's spending a bunch of money. Now they bring in the face of their recruiting class, and he wants out 3 weeks later. I don't love what's going on at Florida. Billy may get it rolling, but right now it's a little bit bumpy.
Tulane coach Willie Fritz was asked what he does to relax. He responded, well, sit by the pool and drink a couple Natty Lights. Coach Willie Fritz and his Natty Lights, take it or leave it.
I got to leave this. Let's see if, I know Tulane's private, so we'll see if his salary is public.
Yeah, he couldn't have found a better beer.
Yeah, $2.5 million for Willie, and he's drinking Natty Lights. Now listen, I put down a few Natty Lights in my day back in college. You could get 24 16-ounce Natty Lights for $8 when I was a freshman. So that was a worthwhile investment for a young college person. When you're making $2.5 million as the head coach at Tulane, I might look into a beer that may be a little bit more palatable. Look, I've had a few natties in my day. If you toss me a freezing cold one right now, I'd probably have it. But there are options out there. There were no options when you were a youngster. Willie's got options. Plus, you're a Cotton Bowl champion. Just go into one of the bars around campus and get him to give you a free beer. If we're worried about, the finances of things. Certainly, he's not on the train that Natty Light is the most appetizing beer out there. Maybe he is. More power to him, but I feel like he could look elsewhere.
The Padres have agreed to terms with 42-year-old slugger Nelson Cruz on a 1-year, $1 million contract. Take it or leave it.
Got to take this. If he can't hit a lick, you just don't worry about it. It's $1 million. How much are they paying Machado and Tatis? I mean, they're paying a bajillion dollars to those guys. So $1 million for Nelly Cruz is nothing. Now, he can't play defense, and he's old as dirt, but he can hit a little bit and hit for some power. By the way, if you're a listener to this show and you come to Plucker's Trivia on Tuesday nights and there's a baseball question about an active hitter or even just hitting in general with longevity and number accumulation, Nelly Cruz, never a bad trivia guess. He's been around a long time and he's hit a lot of tanks. So I would advise going with Nelson Cruz on a trivia answer, and I would advise the Padres, spend $1 million on him. That's free. That's a free player in this world. We're talking about the Saints needing a bunch of young, cheap players. This isn't a young, cheap player, but it's a cheap one. The Padres don't have a salary cap to worry about. So, I will take that. That is it for Take It or Leave It today. I'm fired up for tomorrow's show. Going to be a lot of fun. Tony Tsoukalas comes on with us when we talk Alabama. LSU is headed to Coleman Coliseum coming up on Saturday afternoon. So we'll get Tony's thoughts on what this team is in Alabama, and we'll also get maybe a football nugget or two from him. Wildcard weekend running hot from Saturday through Monday. We'll get you prepared for all of that as well. Always a lot of fun to hang out on Friday. So looking forward to tomorrow's show. On today's show, we started with the Walker Howard news, and I gave you kind of my thoughts on how this happened, what the reaction has been, what my reaction is, and where I think LSU sits in terms of their quarterback situation. Spoiler alert, I think it's very, very good. Not that Walker Howard left, but the situation that they're in I think is very, very good. So if you want to hear my thoughts on it, it opened to the show today. Second segment, we talked about NFL Super Bowl odds, and I gave you a couple of teams with longer odds that I think might be worth throwing a few bucks at. Luke Johnson, always great, talking Saints at 1:30. We talked everything there could be on the Saints, from Sean Payton landing spots, future of Michael Thomas, future of Cam Jordan, what they do at quarterback, all that stuff. Luke talked about at 1:30. It was good stuff. I ended the first hour, not in a way that I anticipated when I woke up this morning, but things changed rather quickly, and I gave you a story about how I ended up this morning standing soaking wet in the rain, bleeding with holes in my pants today. So if you want to hear that, you can hear it at the end of hour number one. Hour two, SEC Hoops reaction from last night, Kentucky basketball in a world of hurt. We detailed that at 2:15, and then a little LSU transfer portal talk at 2:30. Take it or leave it. Always finishes up the show. So if you want to catch any of that, you can do it on demand. 1045ESPN.com's on-demand tab. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, anywhere you get your audio or your video. In YouTube's case, you can find us. Search for The Hunt Palmer Show. You can like, subscribe, rate, review. Hey, those of you in the Bayou Ford chat, throw us a like on YouTube. We certainly will appreciate that. That's going to just about do it for us today. One more time, I want to remind you about Strikeout ALS because we got 1 week until that. So you can join former Tigers Aaron and Austin Nola for the 2023 Strikeout ALS bowling event. The Nola brothers are teaming up once again to help raise critical funds and awareness to the fight against ALS. This year's Strikeout ALS going to be at Red Stick Social Thursday, January the 9th, a week from today, from 5 to 10 p.m. My team's bowling at 7:30. I'm going to be knocking pins all over the yard. Can't wait. If you want tickets to it, you can purchase those at als.org/strikeoutals. All right, that'll do it for us on a Thursday. Jimmy Ott's Game Time is going to come at you from 6 to 8 this evening. Of course, Matt Moscona about to drive you home on After Further Review. Have a wonderful Thursday. I'll be locked into primetime golf. You should do the same. If not, just have a wonderful time. And we'll do it at the same time, same place tomorrow, 1 to 3 every single weekday. It's the Hunt Palmer Show on the Capital City's leader in sports talk, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.